I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it to everyone here and at campfires before, but this thing, Kafka, is a real-time messaging service, and it's the heart of the communication between all of Sansar systems under the hood. And as functional and far along as Sansar seems, is definitely an early access program, and this is the primary system that has been needed to be upgraded for quite some time. And I mean, no one expected it to die a coughing death like it did, and us not to be able to recover it necessarily, but it happened, and I mean, in the end, it's going to bring us this new resource. It's brought the last couple weeks have brought a lot of learning and knowledge, and all of those things are going to translate into us being able to make improvements in the future very quickly. So we're going to get Kafka up and running next week, more than likely, because we're already super close, and this expert's joining the team. So we'll be in full swing Monday morning. And then we are going to be able to execute that upgrade path very quickly compared to where we were before this event. You know, we were planning things out with AWS, Amazon Web Service Partner organizations, and it was just taking a long time. And it was going to. It would be a couple more months before we get it done. We'll likely be able to complete this a lot faster. And where was I going with that? Additions to the platform as well. Our knowledge, the entire development team's knowledge, which the development team is growing now, our knowledge of how to utilize Kafka, make upgrades to the messaging infrastructure, the databases, like we have learned so much about the full breadth of systems under the hood in the last couple of weeks that it's really going to up the pace of innovation after we get past this. So I'm excited about that. There's always a good thing to come out of it, and we're definitely not going to allow the lessons learned and the knowledge from this event to slip through our hands. I'd say about a year ago is when the last time somebody had to rebuild this Kafka service. And reading back about their documentation, they felt like a lot of the same things. That they had learned a lot. They've documented a bunch of what happened, and they laid out a list of things that they wanted to do to prevent it in the future. But none of those things really happened back then. So we're definitely not going to let that opportunity pass us by this time. This is obviously, like I said, I've been saying this for a while that Sansar needs this type of upgrade. We need the stability and the scalability for large amounts of users before we start doing big advertising to bring in new people. And honestly, I also been saying that before we really start promoting Sansar again, we also need to add in a lot of these features we've been talking about, for gamification, activities, better searchability for the index, for the codex, inventory controls, and a few other things. So, yeah. All right, we're going to get all that done, and then it's going to be time to promote Sansar again, right? And we're not talking a huge timeline. We want to make this happen, and we're focused on these things. Oh, I'm seeing some of these animations. Nice. All right. Why do I think they've never upgraded before, and what does it take to upgrade? Good questions. So Linden Labs was obviously putting heavy development into it. What I've heard, just gathered anecdotally from people that were there around the end of when Linden Labs was going to sell it off, they weren't putting a lot more into it at that point. And that was several years ago now. Yeah, I don't remember the exact date, but they weren't putting a lot more into it. Even at that time, things needed to be upgraded because technology was improving so rapidly. And then they sold it off to Wookiee. To me, I mean, it doesn't look like Wookiee did any upgrades or development to speak of. A lot of our services under the hood haven't had any patches or updates applied to them in many years. So there's a lot to work on. And it's costly. Those things are not sexy. They don't bring in dollars necessarily. So Wookiee definitely appeared to me to just have a goal of selling this to companies and to events to have metaverse presence, and that's all they were interested in doing was profiting off of the work that had already been done in Sansar and maybe not pouring in so much of their own. Although I'm sure they would argue that they probably did put in a lot of work. It just isn't apparent to most of us. I mean, they did the sit points thing, didn't they? I believe that was during the Wookiee times. So we
Yeah,
definitely
that's
are
true.
taking a different approach. Um, I believe that Sansar is a social gaming platform, first of all. You don't need to call yourself a metaverse to be a part of the metaverse. We need to have activities and a place for us all to hang out and do all the things we want to do before events. Events are just another thing to do on the platform. Uh, our primary thing is making Sansar available for us. So everyone can join Sansar for free and enjoy themselves and experience it, and then decide, if they want to, you know, enjoy building their skills here, just enjoy socializing and playing games with their friends or whatever they want to do. It's got to be here for that first and foremost. Yeah, exactly. Events are just an extra thing for us to do. So that's how we're planning on building it. Will gamification be a priority once everything's resolved? Yes. I think we would already have a few more features turned out by now if we hadn't spent the last 2 weeks working on this stuff. But like I said, this learning that we've been forced into is going to really speed up our capability. So things that would have been a bigger challenge before are going to be a lot smaller now. So we've expanded our list of easy win activities. and like I said, that the engineer that's starting on Monday, having him on the team's also going to like greatly increase our speed of evolution here. I'm hoping to also bring on a good full stack web developer, so that we can improve our web capabilities.
Hi, Emula. I only
Hi.
just I got in, I think, about a minute after you started, I'm assuming.
Okay. Yeah.
And I missed last week's meeting.
Huh.
I didn't catch, is this going to be an upgrade of Kafka to the modern version? Is this what we're talking about?
So, yeah, to give everyone some details, we use Confluent Kafka, which is like Apache Kafka but with extra features. And yeah, we're going to move to a managed service, and that means basically the most of the maintenance of the service is done by AWS or Confluent, because we're not 100% set on which service provider we're going to host it on, but most likely AWS because that's where the rest of our services are hosted. But you can actually, so I don't know. Now I'm just going to ramble into details, but you can actually use Confluent Kafka through your AWS service. So anyway, you guys don't need to know all that. I'm just thinking out loud. We right now, we are on version 0.10.1. So it's not 0.1. The documentation exists for 0.10, and there are upgrade paths. If you're going to go along the versions, even if you're looking at Apache Kafka, it is on version like 3.14 right now. So we're quite a ways behind. There have been lots of changes, lots of improvements. And these managed services, though, you basically don't have to set up the controls for your scaling. It scales as needed automatically. The teams that manage those services make sure everything's functioning for you. It's actually cheaper. It's going to be cheaper as far as compute resources than what we have now because of the improved scaling features. And of course, a whole ton of bugs and issues and new capabilities are gained when we get to the latest version. Or a whole ton of bugs and issues are resolved and new capabilities are gained when we get to the latest version. So it's going to be a huge upgrade, and once we get that done, Kafka is the primary thing that has to be manually scaled right now for events. So if another 3,000 people were going to show up tomorrow, we would need to make sure that that service is manually scaled up right now beforehand. It's not something that happens automatically with our current setup, but it will be. So and in the future, it's possible we could move away from Kafka if we change the way the back end services work. There's potential for that, but Kafka itself is a very widely used system. You would find it under the hood of things like real-time stock trading apps and stuff like that, where there's inputs from users and requests for transactions and metric events just streaming in from untold numbers of users. It's like a real-time buffering messaging system for the all the services that run under the hood. So,
Yeah, I've been seeing a list on the web denoting which companies use it. And there were quite big companies like Intel and Microsoft.
Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with Kafka necessarily, and even our setup right now it's not bad as long as it's managed. But I would say that we were not managing it, and we didn't know that we weren't managing it. It just it was a bit of a blind. I mean, we knew that Kafka needed to be upgraded, but since we did not have the initial technical resources that developed the system, you don't really know what you're missing and what you're not seeing is happening, right? Until it's too late. And back in the day, apparently there was 3 people that were in charge of Kafka. Yeah. So, and overall, the whole Sansar system was developed by a fairly large team of people that were all, specialized. There was even a few like data engineers that were responsible for setting up all the metrics reporting systems and stuff. And there's a lot there that needs to be unraveled and understood, and not a lot of documentation. But that's typical. I mean, that you find that a lot in most places.
I'd like to raise a question because I feel it is like something that's discussed around the community. Given that you focused on a program of getting us onto TVs rather than, how come this being known wasn't tackled as the first priority? I know you weren't at the spearheading or doing anything up front because you got brought in later.
Yeah.
But it really seems quite an oversight of the Sansar staff to have not made this the focus and priority to get right from the get-go.
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. But I can tell you that the Kafka upgrade has been the top priority for the backend services. But what that looks like can be very different depending on how you think the importance. I mean, it was always the top thing, but nobody knew that it could just spiral down out of control and crash and burn. No, I did not expect that. And when we started having problems, we called one of the original engineers, and you would expect they would respond. Turns out they were like on vacation or something. So time went by, and you're like, it's not a big deal, not a big deal. And then all of a sudden, okay, this is a big deal. Now this isn't working. And it turns out, our DevOps team, they were like, well, we've done all the things we know how to do. Now we need this person to come at, look. And then yeah, you just can't tell that something like that's going to happen. But this has always been the top priority for the backend platform. And we have already been working with outside experts from Amazon Web Services to assess where we are currently and build an upgrade path to get to those managed services in the future. And it's quite a bit of work from an outsider, looking at the system for people that haven't like really dove into it. There are a couple dozen you would call them microservices that sit on either side of Kafka. So let me try to explain how this is. I don't know if I need to go into this. Do you guys want to hear this? Like how the system sort of works?
Anybody? No, I think
okay.
From that part, I feel like things are being done by the sound of it. So
yeah, let me get back to answering your question.
I have some confidence in that.
Let me get back to answering your question. Okay, so why weren't we prioritizing it? We absolutely were. But we were prioritizing it with these outside partners, and it took a lot of time. But we had a roadmap and we had a plan, and we thought that would get us there. We did not know that this event would happen. And as far as like the LG deal, sometimes you need to take opportunities when they arise. And let's say January of this year, when the whole tech sector started to like crumble and investment started to dry up. If this were sometime last year, Sansar could have at any time, I really believe, opened itself up for capital investment, and capital investment would have just shown up, and they would have been excited to give us capital investment because the market was hot for platforms like ours back then. But timing as it is, when we rolled around to looking for investment in February, it was the worst time to try to get investment. Nobody's getting investment, and that's why everything's going belly up. All these banks, that feed especially the ones that work with the tech sector in Silicon Valley, going under. It's a bad time for everybody. That was just terrible timing. But had that timing not happened, this deal with LG makes Sansar even that much more attractive. Getting that deal in place, getting Sansar's visibility and the ability to be launched on mobile devices, then asking for more investment, you could really get a much bigger chunk of investment that way. So it wasn't a lot of work to support that. And the other things were continuing at the same time. So I can't fault us taking advantage of that opportunity when it came up.
Are you seeing bigger investment as a result of having to deal with LG?
We could be. There are a couple avenues for Sansar right now, even in the state of things, for Sansar to gain some new investment. Even a very small amount of investment, I'm telling you, we could stretch it a long ways and do some amazing things with it. And just so everyone knows, to put some numbers into context, from what I know, Roblox, obviously it's a hugely successful platform, but you look them up, they've had over $500 million in investment. That's outside investment poured into them. That's not even money that they've made. VR chat is somewhere over $90 million of investment. And I don't know how much money they made. They only have those subscription services. I don't know what else they make money off of. We're somewhere north of 30 million. Most of that was Linden Labs pouring, in during their initial building phase. So Sansar's got a lot going for it for a platform that is seemingly so young, right, compared to the amounts of money and staff that are available on these other platforms. I think given even a small amount of more of investment, we're going to be in a position to make some really good progress and improvements. And just in case anyone's wondering, I feel like we're on the playground with these really big platforms like Fortnite and Roblox and Second Life and others. I really believe that Sansar has a place among that. You're not going to find that everyone wants to spend their time in Roblox or Fortnite. Sansar's got capabilities and a community and content that is not going to be available on those other platforms, and there needs to be a a bunch of options. If you're going to ever have a real metaverse, it's not going to be just Fortnite. Uh, everyone would, yeah, one platform doesn't just make the world go round, and it doesn't work for everyone. So there's a place for Sansar among all of them, and the whole casual PC gaming market just PC gaming users is a enormous market. There's a lot of entertainment, dollars and values to go around, and we definitely have our place in that. I feel confident in saying that. I mean, it's my personal opinion, but I really believe Sansar has a good chance at staying up to date. Given some further investment, and I think we're going to get there. Otherwise, I wouldn't be putting so much time and effort into it. But I really believe in it.
Yeah, I still feel it's a gem. I've been spending time in VR chat again, and I feel like I'm floating in VR chat. I don't feel like things are scaled to feel completely real to someone in VR. Sansar has a feel about it that is far superior, I feel.
Yeah. Nice. Let's see. Let me read some comments here. Yep. There needs to be professionals in the team that are capable to see and understand such problems to keep the platform stable. Getting investors for an unstable platform. Yeah, definitely more difficult. Is definitely not there's never a good time for something to go down like this. But this in particular is not a good time. Yeah. It's okay though. We'll get past it. It definitely wasn't intentional. We didn't let it go down. We really tried. It's just too big of a monster, at that point in time for us to understand what was happening. But the good news is after spending a couple weeks diving into it every day, it's not so complicated to me now. I didn't know anything about Kafka before this. But I do now, and it's the whole platform went from being something that's almost unintelligible because there were so many little services and connections and things going on to being almost seeming straightforward. I can understand why they did a lot of the things they did, and they're going to be pretty easy to make changes to. So I enjoy having been forced into doing the deep dive.
Thank you for that, Emila, because I know you're on furlough just like everybody else, and the dedication, I think, it speaks volumes. So
thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I consider myself to be investing every month in Sansar. I've got a decent sized apartment and a family of 4 to support. So and a ridiculous burn rate. I don't live in a very expensive area, but I've had bills and car payment and everything. So every month I basically consider myself to be pouring several $1,000s into Sansar.
Right.
It just goes to support my family and myself, but it's worth it. Yeah. When Kafka is fixed, will you gradually reopen or just start back up? We're going to just start back up all at once. I love the idea of a It's Fixed party event. Yeah. We should plan that.
I love that too. That sounds like something we definitely need to do.
Let's figure out what that looks like.
Yeah.
We will put some money into that for sure. I don't know what we could do, but let's think of something good.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting actually to see what the platform can be with an upgraded Kafka. I mean, that's pretty exciting. I mean, this has kind of forced this upgrade notion onto us that it's something we have to do. You can't put it on the back burner anymore.
Finally, people being able to see the true numbers of people that are on is such an amazing.
Yeah, right? I was gonna say you won't even notice it other than things won't break, and so that's the unsexy part of it, right? We'll be like, oh yeah, we just spent a whole month like upgrading Kafka, and everyone will be like, yeah, what changed? You're like, well, nothing, but it's not broken.
El Diablo's going to have to step away, I think he's saying, but he's asking is there a time frame when sansar will be fixed. I think he's missed that.
I'm hoping next week. I mean, it should be. We are really close. There was a good chance we could have got it on Friday, but it just didn't work out. And we're going to have to wait until Monday. And then the expert's going to be here on Monday. We're going to have to give a little bit of walkthroughs, so that even though he's got a lot of knowledge, he doesn't know our systems. And he wants to, give a good evaluation of what we should do before we turn it back on. And we also were real cautious. We didn't want to just by ourselves try and turn it on Friday and then have it, crash and burn or look more broken somehow. So I was like, you know what? Let's just put a pin in it. It sucks, but let's wait. So we're going to wait till Monday.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks, El Diablo, for being here.
So that will.
Oh, you had to step away. I see, but you're back. I thought you were.
Oh, he had to step away. I thought he was stepping away. Okay, I missed it.
Yep. What were you going to say, Luv?
I was going to say, does upgrading Kafka will all sorts of things sort of appear to work better, like opening up our panels, which seem to take a long time to respond, and things like that.
Do you have that problem?
Oh, I've been having, when I've been clicking on my wrist to open up the codecs and chat and things like that. Yeah, it's been getting quite slow in its response.
Maybe. I'd have to look into that. That could be a thing that it might improve. We are going to be. There's actually a lot of things we're upgrading. So, we use a thing called Redis, which is a database caching system that speeds up your database transactions. We're upgrading all of those. They were very, very outdated as well. That may improve our speeds. And then I wouldn't say that. I don't know that it's likely that the Kafka upgrade will improve the speeds, other than if things have been getting slow, how long have they been getting slow for? Is that something that was within the last couple months for you?
Yeah. Okay. I just think it will all run a little bit smoother than...
Yes, I would expect that. Yeah. I'd expect it to run smoother for sure. Yeah. What else was I going to talk about? Oh, I saw this in the off-topic channel. Ryan Schultz posted this review of the World Guide, I think it might have been called, over in Second Life. And I don't know if everyone's seen that, but it's basically a
destination guide.
What's that?
The destination guide.
Destination guide, they call it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, and this is the exact thing we've been talking about for the codex for a long time. Searchability, being the discoverability of worlds. Obviously it's a problem for us too. It's a problem for everywhere. It would seem like some pretty easy solutions. So our plan has been for a while, and this is something we'll be able to do a lot easier now with this knowledge we've gained during this issue, is add in to the world creation templates more like tags. I mean, there's already tags there, but I think there's already tags in the world creation template. I don't know about that. Is that just for items in the store? I haven't created a lot of worlds, honestly. I've always just done, avatars. So I know there's like a tag system for avatars. Nikki, is there? I know anyone? Is there like a place?
What are you asking about? A place to add?
Yeah, like tags, like keyword search terms for worlds.
Oh, I think you can search. It searches whatever's in the name and the description, I believe.
So
I believe there is a tag. Yeah, but I don't think it's
cool.
notated with a hashtag or anything. But
we might add a separate field for tags then.
Okay.
I know we could get sort through all the description and stuff, but it'd be just easier if we put in search terms, and then so we'll revamp the codex and add that to all the worlds, and then that way people will be able to find things based on those tags that the creators put in there, like games and stuff. Someone did bring up that that's something we might have to end up moderating a little bit, because is anyone could put in any tags if they want their world to show up, and they're like, oh, everyone always searches for games. My world's not a game. I'm just going to put games in there. Like, that would be lame. But aside from people abusing the search system in that way, I think it'd be fantastic. And then, I don't know, there were some different ideas that we kicked around. These are very underdeveloped ideas, but about sorting and promoting worlds. Like somebody pointed out, all those worlds that are in that world guide or in Second Life are all curated by staff, which is great if you have a bunch of staff to curate worlds. But wouldn't it be nice if the community could kind of curate worlds too?
Or even have a suggestion page. It'd be nice if you did implement the tag system, if you just kind of set up a general tag system for world creators to follow that could just be, listed, like different tags that you can use to direct to games
So
or whatever.
you could just click on categories to put it in, maybe?
Yep.
I like it.
Would this also allow like world creator names to be tagged or searched? Because quite often I just want to find worlds by name of a creator. That's not a feature we have right now. Yeah,
no, I agree. There needs to be that, and not only for worlds, but for store items and stuff too.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't like, and it seems to cause a lot of problems, that the primary way to search the store is just by latest created. Because you've got certain creators that are very productive with their items, and they always have like a huge block of space in that search field. It'd be nice to just break it down by like maybe top creators that have updated recently or something, and better categories for things. Oh, there's so many ideas, but like I keep saying, we'll be able to make those changes a lot better now. So I'm excited to get back to it.
Cool.
Really excited for next week for so many reasons.
Once it's running again, how soon will features that we talked about, like tinies and things, be implemented?
Boy, within a couple weeks. We've already got a few features that have been committed. They're small, like little fixes and stuff. You know what? Let me look. I don't think they were anything
VR
exciting.
controls, for example, as well, because that's so important.
VR controls for what in particular?
Like remote controlling vehicles and things.
Oh, yes. The sit points. We haven't worked on that at all yet, but I don't think that one will be too hard to do. So within a couple weeks, I would imagine.
These are features I feel that are missing from us. That
I know.
The VR chat, always the edge, our interactivity and things like that.
Yeah. Let me see. Engineering. Let me look at our releases.
And we went horse riding in VR chat the other day. That was quite an experience.
Yeah, I did that too.
How was it?
That was great. You did feel like you were riding a horse. It was kind of crude in its movements and animation, and the world looked kind of blocky, but
okay.
I'm gonna
check it out.
You were sitting on horse.
With the reins is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, after a while, you feel like you're really riding a horse and controlling it with the reins.
Were you in VR too as well?
Yeah, I was in VR.
Nice. Okay.
I only
We've also
go when I go in VR chat. I only go in VR for
Yeah.
some reason. Not in Sansar, but in VR chat, I always go in only in VR.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
we're also playing a VR chat game where like Among Us, but
Uh-huh.
like on a murder detective level, bystanders
Yeah.
murder detective. That was good fun.
Nice.
We need these sort of things for sure in Sansar to
Yes.
give us that presence, really.
Right. Yeah.
Thing with VR chat is,
Imposter.
sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The thing with VR chat is that you really, I'm sorry, I'm making lunch. I don't want to make a lot of noise. The thing with VR chat is that you have to go in with friends. And then if you're going to visit someplace, you have to create a private instance just for the people you're with. Otherwise, it's madness.
Right.
Private instances would be something quite easy for us, wouldn't it? The way
I think
instances are
so.
set up.
I want to make that easier to do because sometimes you want to jump to a place and you're like, oh, who's got a private world set up, and you got to do a lot to make that happen. Yeah, seemingly. I mean, it's not so much, but it would be nice if there was just an easy way to do that.
Well, we do have a lot of worlds like board game setups, and people could come in and interfere with that. But with a private instance, that wouldn't be a concern.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I haven't broken down the current like world cost right now. So we've done a lot of optimization in the past few months in order to really get down our operating costs, and it's been pretty dramatic. So our cost for running a world, I think, is quite a bit less than it used to be. So there's one thing. Oh, you know what? Maybe that would be like a subscription feature or something. Like the ability to just create your own private instances on the fly like that. Because basically you got a whole nother world running with only a few people able to access it. So if hundreds and thousands of people are doing that, we're going to end up with a whole bunch of costs. Whereas if those are public worlds, they would all end up, each world might, assuming it had tons of users, they would end up being utilized better, per world.
Yeah, well,
So
because AWS charges you to spin up a server for something, so
exactly.
it makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is our largest cost is the world instances running. Yeah, so looking through our latest release notes, it's nothing exciting yet. We added in keyboard controls for people on laptops. So for cameras, because moving the camera around can be pretty difficult. This was just a quick addition. But basically, you can use WAS and D to move your player's position, and IJKL to rotate the camera. So you can, if you don't have an attached mouse, you can get around like that. And then we also made some changes to the Sansar installation folder directory structure, and this was it cleaned it up a lot. So like the amount of files that you see in there right now will shrink a lot because we moved some of those to a subfolder, and that was to support our cloud installation in our gaming service provider, our streaming provider. We needed to move those folders in order to get it to function with their tech stack. And then we got some launch parameters for VR runtime and a crash fix triggered by sitting in first person when you're not in VR. So there's a few more crash fixes in the works before we got sidetracked with this other outage. But we'll add a few more exciting things to that list before we release. But hopefully within a week or two, we'll have another release out.
Have particle systems be discussed for Sansar?
They have. So currently the main physics and animation engine is Havok, which is owned by Microsoft, and it's quite expensive. and we're on like a 2018 version. There's a lot of capabilities that we have in what we own already, but it's quite expensive. And if we were to try to upgrade to their latest, it's gonna be a lot of money. Depending on the features we upgrade to, it might push like a couple $100,000, over the course of a couple of years or more. But more than likely, we would move to an open source solution. Most likely, NVIDIA's PhysX package. They've got a lot of capability in there that would work for everyone. They do have some technologies that are NVIDIA GPU only. So ideally, we wouldn't go with those. But yeah, you never know. I mean, most of the stuff like particle systems, vehicles, we could use the NVIDIA PhysX vehicle system, and we would just implement this physics system alongside our current one.
They sound like the better ones to go with. I think NVIDIA are far more on the ball and the spearhead of
yeah,
than
it's pretty good, definitely. And I mean, yeah, I'm not going to knock Havoc. Havoc's been around for a long time, but the cost is crazy when you could go with an open source system and accomplish most of the same things. The biggest thing to change out would be our animation system. It is very reliant upon Havoc right now. But it would be fairly easy for us to integrate this other physics system alongside it for vehicles and then particles and stuff like that. And then maybe we can slowly transition over time.
What about the Unreal Engine itself? Is that something that could be thought of, or is that
so
foreign to it?
The reason, so there's a lot to talk about there. One of Sansar's weaknesses has been third-party package integration. Anytime, there's been several things under the hood, like Havoc, this one package called Ikinma, which is for the inverse kinematics for like the legs and stuff right now. There's a few others for graphics rendering. There have been some that were initially included that are already gone. All those third-party services, at most of them, have been sold off to other companies and discontinued, or something that that company's decided to change tactics and go to a different platform, and then charge us way more money or something. You name it. Anytime you're involving paid packages from another company, you're sort of beholden to that company for the future of your product. Mm-hmm. So that would be the first problem with dealing with Unreal Engine. You don't know what that company is going to choose to do in the future, what versions they're going to jump to, and what kind of work you're going to have to do to keep up with them. That'd be the first issue. Second one is the decision was made to make their own rendering engine even back then because same sort of reason. First, you don't have to worry about the choices that this other company's making and having to keep up with them. And second, when it comes to what's happening in your game, you have a lot more control over it. So they built their own world editor, their own with a limited set of features and capabilities that could be developed and tested and verified and hopefully provide these world creation and content creation tools that will help people make experiences that like really perform well. And you can kind of see the same thing happened with Fortnite and the Unreal editor for Fortnite. They did not open up Fortnite to anything that Unreal could do. So all these platforms that have Unity as their engine, they're basically opened up like VR chat. You could do anything you can do in Unity in VR chat. So one world to the next, you never know what kind of performance you're going to get and what the creators have done in there. On one hand, that's cool because unlimited creativity. On the other hand, you just have no control over your platform. And you can see with Fortnite, they chose not to do that. They went out of their way to make a specific editor for Fortnite that restricts the capabilities of the users and gives them only access to certain shaders and scripting capabilities. And then on top of that, they are going to review each one of those things and make sure that they perform well before they go into their game. So that exact thing is essentially what Sansar has going for it. We haven't been reviewing stuff. We don't have the kind of controls and regulations and definitely we're not trying to really well, they own the avatars over in Fortnite, for instance. You can't upload your own custom avatars, right? Those are just highly monetized by them in particular. We're not doing any of that stuff. We're really trying to roll out tools and capabilities that make it great for everyone. And now I forgot the initial topic, but
I was just seeing if it was possible for integration into Unreal.
Yeah. So no, we don't want to do that. We want to exist on our own and be in control of our own destiny. What we can do though is work on interoperability. And you even heard, it's great that Unreal talked about that at the end of their speech at the game developer conference, about the future of the metaverse and having this interoperability. And we always wanted to be a part of it, and we'll continue to try and do that. But I'm thinking first easy things we can do is support the standard Unreal skeleton and the standard Unity skeleton as well, so that we'll be able to bring in avatars from those systems much easier. The shaders will be interesting. We have to figure out some conversion for those, or how people are going to handle them when you bring content from other platforms into Sansar. But we are working on that. So we want to get some interoperability, but not like directly using those engines.
We are going to have to address and rival the nanite capabilities though of Unreal, I feel.
Probably. Those technologies are heavy in a lot of ways. They even at first you couldn't use those things in VR. It's just too much for most PCs. So they're fantastic. I'm excited about those technologies. But there's still a lot to be developed and figure out. And yeah, we definitely will at some point. A better LOD system for the world would be really cool. Yeah. There's a bunch of features we have on the roadmap. We've got already so much going for us, and when everything's functioning, Sansar ticks a lot of boxes already, even for needing so much development and having so many things on the list to do. It's pretty fantastic. I think once we spend some time getting these gamification features so that we can build up these better games and fun experiences, it's going to make all the difference all by itself.
Blender, in the last conference they had, referred to that they were going to be looking at making apps that were compatible with businesses. I think it was referring to, so that you could sort of incorporate Blender attributes into your apps.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, is it possible for Sansar to be able to have a way of, when we're editing, just to be able to do it straight from Blender, if that's a possibility?
I know, that is a super cool idea. We've definitely talked a few times. Medhu's brought it up a lot in the past about doing Blender add-ons and stuff specifically for importing that to Sansar, and that would be super cool. But I think like what you're suggesting is somehow integrating Blender into Sansar.
If that's a possibility, but what I'm thinking of is like, so you make a model and you have the materials on it, but you're doing it through the procedural process, right? So everything's sort of a procedural thing. Is there a way of making that procedural thing work with Sansar, so you're not having to flatten it all down, or that?
I don't know. Yeah, I wonder what the computation resources would be. It would definitely be more expensive to have it be like that, though. At the best, if you want it to be optimized for gaming, it needs to be baked down at the end. But it's possible we could, if we were to say do something like integrate Blender into Sansar and allow you to set up all those nodes that basically,
Yeah.
we would save that file, and then when you hit go, it would bake everything down for you, but save your file so you could come back and edit it.
If
That
Sansa
would
could
be
get into a node-based thing,
cool.
that would just really
I
be
know, right?
making progress.
Yeah. Yeah, those when I first started learning 3D, I could see you can set up all these nodes and make all these cool textures in Blender, and then it took me a while to figure out, oh, okay, I've got to bake these all down into images and set them up in this manner in order to upload them. That took a while to learn all that. Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be really cool. I hope we can do something like that. Definitely.
This year?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so we we just have a few people on the team right now.
Yeah.
But that's pretty decent, and there's some good people for sure. I think we're gonna go hard on these features we've been talking about for games and searchability and other types of content controls. And then, once we've got like a good set of stuff where, all of us, and I'm talking about you, all of you, feel like we can really build some new things that are exciting and different from what we've been able to do in the past few years, then we can start really going for these larger scale projects like that. I don't think that would be a massive one, but yeah, I haven't really dug into it. Yeah, I'm really interested to do that though. That would be cool.
Cool. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep coming up with questions.
I appreciate it.
Well, we only have a few minutes left. I know there were a few people who came in a little bit later and maybe didn't hear the beginning, so maybe you could just recap that a little bit before you close.
Yeah. So we are next week, I would expect we'll be able to get things back up and running. We have a new engineer starting on Monday. We've worked really hard to get them set up just in the last few days. We interviewed him at the beginning of this week. So it's a real fast turnaround. It's going to be very fortunate for us. He's got several years of experience specifically in the version of Kafka that we have. And we were already pretty close to being able to turn things back on. But we made the call on Friday just to hold off till next week. That way we could get his input. And then with him on the team and the knowledge that we now have, we are going to move pretty quickly on upgrading our Kafka system to the latest version and a fully managed service, which has been a top priority for our backend infrastructure for many months. So that's all going to happen, and it's going to happen rather quickly compared to where we were before this outage. Cool. So been very painful. But it's going to be really good when we work past this. And it's just like anything. Even if you falter, you pick yourself back up and you keep going. You do all the right things and you stick with it, and things are going to turn out good. And that's where we're at with Sansar, and it's going to be good. So I'm really looking forward to next week.
Yeah, it is positive because originally you were just talking about getting Kafka up and running again, not the upgrade. So that fact that we're upgrading to modern is good.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I'm actually going to a convention today.